Okay, the last few weeks I've been wondering, did Charlie ever get taken to the hospital? I don't think he did. No, not the last few weeks. The last 6 weeks is when I really started thinking it. I had started thinking it last October, but then I thought, well, Candace is on it. Baron, I didn't know who he was yet, but I kept hearing his name. And big creators were on it. I figured if he hadn't been, they would have been all over that. Then fast forward, say around, what is this, July? So in May sometime, I started thinking, that man was never taken to no hospital. Don't make sense. I think that guy Turek came out and said something, and the story changed a bit. Anytime somebody's story changed, it's a lie somewhere. So that's what made me start looking into it again. So I had started gathering things because I wanted to make a little video. And yesterday, I wasn't even going to include this, but yesterday I was doing my chores, listening to Baron's episode, and it was titled Photo Op Timeline, blah, blah, blah. And that's another thing I don't think that was him in that casket because of the hands. But I'll try to get into that. I don't want to make this too long. So, yesterday in that live he did, which is this on the screen, he said this. This kind of ghetto. I'm going to try to play it off my phone. 'Cause I caught it on my phone. I couldn't find it in the live stream that he posted. I don't understand what's going on. I'm I'm not tech savvy. That's why it's already hood the way I'm doing it. So hold on, let me try something. Okay, he said this. I don't know why it's not in the thing, but when he said this, I was hooked. I normally don't watch his whole episode, but I knew that was
Nothing we're
good
told
one.
is true. Nothing we're told happened. We just continually go through this over and over and over. It's nonsensical at this point. And there's really no way to square this.
Facts.
Nothing.
Facts. What I've been witnessing with this Iran war, you can't trust nothing anymore. People I have respected for, Jimmy Dore, Nico House, Pasta. I don't know about Fiorella. I haven't seen her lately. Just a lot of people I held in high regard. Because Nico he like my godfather into history and real politics. He used to say the craziest stuff. I found him in 2015. And I'm like, he crazy. Then I go fact check him. And he be right. I'm like, what? So that's how I started. Then Jimmy Dore, of course, everybody learned a lot there. I just don't think Nico get his propers. But lately, everybody is missing big facts on the Iran war. And it's because of these CIA people like Larry Johnson, Scott Ritter. They hold weight. So you got all these people who seem honest, but now I know they're not. And I'm sure they ain't just started lying to us. Bibi Netanyahu is dead. So is Ben Gvir. There are thousands of U.S. troops dead, at least 6,000. That's why Iran keeps on saying, check on your people, basically. They use different words, but that's what they keep saying. Nobody's picking it up. But I believe because Larry Johnson, Scott Ritter, all those people that be on Judge Knapp's show, Max Blumenthal, they're not telling the truth. They're keeping us in the dark about a lot. I'll never trust them again. And I don't know what happened with Nico and them. He used to fact check stuff and bring us the news MSM wasn't telling us. So did Jimmy Dore. Now, they just pointing out the lies MSM tell. Like we don't know they lying. That's why we're here. And then they don't fact check nothing, obviously, because Bibi been dead since March the 8th. He got hit in Israel at what they call Israel's Pentagon on the 28th of February, right when the war started. They put him on his plane, flew around for 4 hours, probably putting him in a coma and looking for somewhere to take him. And they flew him to Germany, where he died on the 8th. And then they have him and BB, what's his name, Ben Gravere. David Barnea is dead. He's the Mossad chief. He lived at the White House. But after March, no one has seen him. Nobody found that odd. But anyway, what Barron said is how it caught me yesterday. And I just listened to this whole show almost while I was tending to the plants and stuff. So nothing is true. It's like we live in a whole separate world. And like Jimmy Dore, Candace, all these people selling gold, but they hurting themselves because they're not telling the facts that people need to know. And that's hurting the markets. If the markets knew that BB was dead, then I'm sure there's no way they'd be able to prop this thing up like they are. But, you know, Larry Johnson, the CIA guy, said, he straight up, I saw him say, looked into the camera and say, no, BB's not dead. I know he is. I know a lot about that one. Ben Gravere, dead. And they keep making their likenesses come out and say outlandish things to get everybody riled up. They're not even saying these things. They can't say them because they dead. If they were alive, I saw a video of Ben Gravere where he was squatting down, sticking out his tongue at somebody. That's an AI video. I could tell that. But everybody just act like it's real. And since March, they say the most outlandish things. Just get people riled up. Then they keep making these trips to the U.S. that they keep canceling. But nobody asks any questions. I don't know what's going on, but nothing is real. So anyway, normally when I watch his stuff, I'll wait until he into it so I can rewind and just skip over parts I don't want to hear. But I listened to this whole thing almost yesterday. And I got to comment early so he could read my stuff. And this is what he said about Charlie's body. Because I'm glad, too, because he said he shared some more facts that I didn't know. I'm learning something new every day. I did not know about this body. You know, where Erica made the film where she was all hugging on the body and all that. I didn't know that was in Utah. That's more evidence right there. That would have had to be the same day or the next day. So he supposedly went to I don't think he ever went to the hospital, but this is what they say. He went to the hospital, then they took him to the funeral home, got him fixed up enough where she could go in there and put on her show. I just don't believe that. I'm 41 now. I've been to my share of funerals. You know, black people, we gonna take 2 to 3 weeks. But even with normal people, a few days, never the next day. Maybe with Jewish people, or Muslims, but I don't think they even do autopsies and all that. So I was able to say this to him, and this encouraged me. Look,
Charlie's body did not leave that hospital because it was never taken there. There's no autopsy. I'm convinced he was taken directly to the airport. Do you have evidence of that? Because that's a rabbit hole I'll fall in and crawl around in. Muddier footage, the most big.
Let's get in the rabbit hole. I don't have evidence of it, but, well, not direct evidence, but I got common sense. And I know when I'm getting lied to. So, listen to, what's his name? Yosemite Sam talking. This guy right here. This is what he said he was doing in his car.
Out still, and I'm on top of him, like close. And it was still coming out enough that I guess.
Wait, this is when it first happened. They still on that little stage. I don't know if this is the man who was doing the hand signals, but he's the head of the security company.
It squirted through my fingers and I could taste it on my lips. And so I was like, man, this is a bad wound, right? And so I was just pushing that, and I don't know at that time. I know when you look at the clock, I was on him within 5 seconds and had my hands in him. And then I don't know when I put the first piece of medical on him. It was sometime after that, because I carry it right here. And that's why you carry it on you. You got to have it there. So, but then I remember pulling back away and thinking, damn, this is bad. Like, it's coming out. And I don't remember saying this, but the guys told me, and you can kind of see it on the video. I said, prep the car. And I just prepped, and you see the two guys just take off. And that car's prepped in position, but what I mean, doors are open, I mean, the whole deal. And so...
why was that important? That's the one thing you could tell when somebody lying. I don't know, I'm like a human lie detector test. I was a buyer for 10 years, plus probably because of how I grew up. I was in foster homes in not several states, a couple different states, and kind of had to fend for myself. I got some type of intuition thing, and I'm pretty good at sussing out a lie. He's lying. He's adding too many needless details, first of all, and why is he talking anyway? I wonder who, like, didn't they tell them don't say anything? It's police in my family. When we were coming up and getting of age, just like my nephew's getting of age now, I tell them, don't ever talk to the police if you know you're guilty. Be quiet. When they put you in that jail, don't talk to those people in there. They're gonna try to get you to talk, but you don't know which one of them are police, and you could bet your bottom dollar everything in that jail is being recorded. You can't even whisper. So be quiet if you know you're guilty. Do not talk. He said he's been in the armed forces and had some long career and been around the world and This is like a self-inflicted wound. Why is he talking?
And so we're doing pressure control there, and it's a carotid artery, so you can't put a tourniquet on it, obviously. And in my head, I'm like, pack pressure, pray, man. These are what you can do for that wound. But then, so I'm on top, and then I told the guys, we got to exfil. We're all out here in the open. We're trying to give wound care, and we got to get off this X, right?
He does this a lot through this whole interview, talking in nomenclature that only his host, well, I'm sure people watching, some of them will know. A regular person don't know what exfil means and get off this X. I don't know I do know why he's doing that. And then it's a lot of times in this interview where he says this type of stuff hoping to connect with the interviewer.
And so, but I just said, we're exfilling. And so we got up, I think it was like 15, 16 seconds from the time the shot happened to the time we were picking him up and headed.
15 to 16 seconds.
That's what it was, yeah. And so...
That's fast.
And this is horrible, but...
It's fast to get an initial assessment, plug a hole, pick them up, move them.
Yeah, and so it's just like, dang. And it's some horrible realities of it, too, that, like, I told the guys this, and I haven't...
This is him in distress, I'm guessing. This man done seen plenty bodies in combat, but this is just a bridge too far, and we all know he was a part of it. He makes it obvious. He just too disturbed to talk about it.
When I jumped down on him, he had doll's eyes. And so I was like, man, these are wounds incompatible with life.
He got doll's eyes, but didn't they say later on that he had a pulse and they tried to bring him back or something like that?
You want to take a break? Let's take a break. Yes. 10 alerts on the newest
It was
Never
another
be
part I
sold
wanted y'all
again.
to see. Oh man, I think I done messed up the thing.
That's how you do it.
Absolutely.
I remember
Yeah.
the eye thump.
Yep. And
You know,
so
there's no
The eye
movement
thump.
after you thump the eye. That is,
Good.
it's
And so,
done.
Same. And so
over.
at the time, I mean,
Where the video
I broke
go?
down just then, but I think
Oh.
some of my close friends had told me I didn't weep a tear after that for like 3 weeks. Not, it's like, hey man, it's like, yeah, there's a time for that. These guys, the guys I'm with, we've seen a lot of
That
effects of violence. Messed up kids, guys that stick things into kids, and just horrible people, right? And you compartmentalize that junk, right? So that you can, you got a job to do. And then sometimes those things, when you open that box, they come out, right? And that was one of them. So, I'm sure it's good for me at some point. So we get back to that, and so I'm down on him, and I don't know if when it sprayed me in the face, it caused me to flinch back or what, but then sometime around then, I said, they prepped the car, and you see two of the guys just take off towards the car, and then Gibby and Rick and Dan and I said, hey, that's exfil now, and so we get up, and the timeline on that's like 15, 16 seconds, something like that, where you can see we're prepping. But the problem is direct pressure, right? So when you're in a medical deal, and you've been I've had these before on major accidents and GSWs when you show up on causes.
He done had all these experiences dealing with this type of stuff, but now he need to break down 2 months after this one.
You can't give direct pressure and move, right? In exfil, and you can't. You have to have counters, like giving CPR. You can't give people CPR like that. You have to have something. So it's like, hey, okay, well, let's just get in the car.
you can't
Yeah, but then it's
you
like,
can't apply direct pressure to move either, because it's the neck and there goes the airway.
right, and so
And it's just it's damn near the worst.
and then I like
place.
and then you don't get first aid when it's raining on you still, right? Or this first shot, second shot, how many more's coming in? So and so I was like, hey, let's just call for exfil. So I called for exfil and said, hey, let's go. The guys had prepped the car, so we're carrying. We trained officer down, I don't know how many times, or person down, and we were carrying, and you can see it on the video. Rick breaks off at the perfect time. He goes around to the other side, jumps in. We do the drag. Don't try to shove the guy in. Half the team pushes in, the other half team drags from the other side. There's no comms for that. We just knew. He knew that's what we need to do. We've done that. He's done that. We've got careers built on doing that. Real.
He got careers built on doing that. But so what was that little show about a couple minutes ago? And he's all shooks talking. People be capping on us. I'm from Detroit. I've lived across the country, but primarily I lived in Detroit most of the time. I lived in Houston when I was from 8 to 9.5. Then we moved to Chicago, a suburb of Chicago. Then back to Michigan. Grew up, met my better half, moved away to Columbus, Ohio. Then from there, I got a job that sent us back to Detroit. Then that job closed and I had job offers. I picked the one in Florida. So I got a little bit of country, me and my family. In Detroit, we got, I never knew it until I started traveling as an adult and everybody thought I was from the South. And I'm like, no, man, I'm from Detroit. And everybody said we are the South of the North. But he is putting on, this is not the real way he talks.
Real time and training. And so guys weren't helping. Justin gets in. He knows his job to drive. That's his job. Dan jumps in. He knows he's nav. And so we're back there. Rick, we pull him across. it just jumps in the back. And so he's a known. So I was like, yep, it's Frank, but I'm not going to fight him on it. Frank's there because Frank's hurt, and it's because it's one of those things where you have dead kids on calls, and you're not supposed to let the crime scene be contaminated, but I'm not going to deny a parent the ability to come in and say goodbye to their child. And Frank's many times said that Charlie felt like he was his son. I'm not going to deny him that.
So he let Frank Turek up in the car because he referred to Charlie as his son before, but he wouldn't let the EMTs help Charlie. That's strange, but okay. I don't want to get real long. He got some more to say, but I want to get over here and show you this thing I came across, because when I started looking into whether he actually was taken to the hospital, I found this guy. He's the man. Based Sam Parker. Here we go.
I feel bad for the hospital staff because we showed up looking like that, and they did. I feel bad for the hospital staff because we showed up looking like that, and they didn't know we were coming, even though we had called 911. But I don't know what happened then. So,
there are several issues with the of Charlie Kirk on September 10th. There are several issues with this narrative by Brian Harple. Number one, I filed a grammar request for all the 9.
Why do they keep doing that? We keep
with this narrative by Brian Harple. Number one, I filed a grammar request for all the 911 calls relating to the death of Charlie Kirk on September 10th and the shooting at Utah Valley University. Utah sent me the audio for 20 calls back. 18 of those calls went to Central Utah 911 Dispatch, which is the main node that handles 911 calls in Utah County, where Utah Valley University is located. 2 calls were routed to Police and Fire Dispatch, which is another node that also handles overflow 911 calls. None of these 20 calls came from Brian Harple or anybody on his security staff. That's problem number one. So he claims they called 911, but 911 doesn't have any record of his call. So that's the first problem. The second problem, or maybe more than 2 problems, is who actually called 911? Who could have called 911? We're about to listen to Frank Turek and Brian Harple describe the drive to the hospital. And as you listen, you're going to find out that there wasn't really ever any opportunity or availability by any of the 5 men in the car to call 911. I don't know. I don't know that for sure. I can't make that claim for sure. But as you listen to them talk about it, I want you to try to figure out, well, who possibly could have made this call if these 5 men were doing the things that they described? And also taking into account that Brian Harple had dropped his phone back at UVU and Frank Turek's phone was stuck on FaceTime the whole time, according to him. Now let's listen to them tell the tale, and you make up your own mind. What happened to...
Okay, so we already know what the tale is. I don't want to make this get stupid long. So this guy is a really good researcher, and I love the information he'll share with you. I just learned this. See, I was looking into this angle maybe around October when I started looking to see if they actually had kids, Charlie and Erica, which I don't believe they do. But I kind of got off of it, so I just came across this when I started looking into it again. Nobody called 911, but he said he did get caught in another lie. He said something in the part I did play about how he felt bad for the people at the hospital. No, you didn't, because you never went to the hospital. That's why you were able to tell that absurd story about rolling him in there, tearing his shirt off, and getting on top of the gurney and all that. So, this man said he filed a grammar request. That's basically a FOIA request, just different letters in the state of Utah. Let me see. Okay, this ain't really about this, but Let me show you what I had asked Baron right quick. Because there was something else I asked him. Did I already play that about Charlie? Okay, let's go to 208.
You know, who was behind Butler? It was not the company. I mean, we'll see. He didn't believe Butler for the Secret Service. Who was behind Butler?
I know who was behind Butler.
A lot of high-profile, crazy events that involve lots of actors, and even Charlie Kirk himself said that he didn't believe Butler for a second and thought there might be dozens of people involved. And
Of course, there were dozens of people involved. Our greatest ally was behind Butler. That was real. And since that happened, that man Trump has not been the same. I wish he would have some courage. You 80 years old, you have to stand up to them. They just cut everybody's Medicaid. My friend who was a diabetic, I got diabetes. When my money get low and my change gets strange, I start shaking and stuff. But she's a real diabetic. They cut her Medicaid. Did you know that our greatest ally has free Medicaid and we pay for it? So it was them. I did a video on it where I go into more details, but I figured that one out on my own. They make it easy. It's kind of like a pattern, but let's see.
then everyone kept their mouth shut. So I'm not very confident. I mean, we'll see. We'll keep the pressure on and see what we can find. I was always thinking going home to Arizona the next day, embalmed, seems super fast. Christ is king indeed. It is super fast. Where Emmy and Dr. Trotter Googled from our greatest ally before 9/10. Go back and watch those.
That's what he said. I asked that too, because Candace says about this call with the surgeon, and she's, it's one of her big things that she goes in on them for. Her and Andrew were arguing about it last week, and I commented somewhere and I said, for once, Andrew is telling the truth, because he was saying one thing about the call with Dr. Trotter, and I happen to know that call never happened. I think that's a red herring. I don't know where she got it from, but they want her to think that. So I just don't believe this call with Dr. Trotter ever happened. When I first started hearing about Barron, he was doing like Google Trend searches, and so I went back to look and see, because that's part of my theory. Like, if they were searched, the medical examiner and this so-called surgeon, if they have been searched from our greatest allies country, from there, before the Big Bang, then that's more proof for me. So they could, if Candace talked to Dr. Trotter is lying, because Charlie never went to a hospital. So I had even commented a few days ago, because I got frustrated trying to look to see if he had did his magic with these two, and I asked if he could get one of his people to put his stuff in playlists, because I'm not familiar with his page at that time. I didn't start rocking with him until maybe 3 months ago. At first I was a bit leery of him, because he just came out of nowhere, and I don't trust nothing no more. So he come out of nowhere. I checked him out, and he was great. The way he talked, it was like this what he'd been doing for a long time. So that gave me pause. But I checked into it, and he has been doing it for a long time. So I'm like, oh, he probably legit then. But I like the things he questions. Like, he gives me a good angle to approach things from. And I think he honorable. If he say something, he really means it. So I asked him about this, And this is after I left a comment earlier this week saying, could you have somebody put your stuff in playlists? Because I'm looking for to see if you had searched out Dr. Trotter and the medical examiner and see if they had been searched from Our Greatest Ally beforehand.
Those Google Trend shows. They will blow your mind. If you're asking me that tells me you didn't watch them, and that's fine. Again, you don't have to watch everything. But I did like 8 shows on Google Trends. And they're not nearly as long as these shows. That was back before I had all the super chats, and they were like an hour. Go back and watch those shows. To short answer your question is yes, but it's not just them. It will blow your mind how many people involved in this were Googled over there. But Bear.
Okay, so that's another piece of evidence for me. They were searched because they are in on it. They're gonna pretend they did an autopsy if asked. And Dr. Trotter, if he was on this call, I don't know how Candace got the information or if she spoke with him herself, but he was Googled from Our Greatest Allies borders within that place. And why? There's no reason for that. But I'm gonna still look for those. But you know how when you're looking for something, sometimes you could think about what time of year it was and all that, and help you find what you're looking for. I can't because I was not watching him at that time, but I did hear about his Google searches, and I'm glad he answered yes. And so that means they were searched from there ahead of time. So let's see what other proof I got. Now, is this proof or just like, this is why I think this? He says something else about Arizona. I wish I had written it down. And so there's one more. Did I say? Okay, I'm looking for 156. Oh, yep, there I go. Listen to this.
I rarely write back, but I often want to. That's not Charlie's hand. That's not Charlie in the casket. Hands are far too small. She put hers on top of his, almost covered his, compared to their hands in the wedding photos. So I'll say this: cameras do weird things. Like I can make my hands look really big or really small based on where they are. You're looking at a 3-dimensional scene with through a 2-dimensional lens, and so her hands are closer than his, and they're going to look larger than they actually are relative to how his hands are, and his hands are going to look smaller than they actually are relative to her hands. So I don't know that. I think I look at the bruising and the burning or whatever that is on his left hand in the casket. He's got a couple dots there in the web and one kind of up on the finger, and I think those are his hands. But I don't know. Could be wrong.
I don't see any bruising or whatever he talking about, but if it's there, then they took some makeup and put it there to make it look more legitimate. Look at this wedding picture. I got a lot more, but this video ain't really about that. Look at those hands. It don't matter how far or close you get, or 2 degree or 3 degree. His hand is humongous. And what is he, 6'5"? Look at that hand right here. So let's look over to the casket.
I love you. I love you. I love you. God bless you.
Oh, I think I do see some stippling up here. So she put her hand right on top of his, just like in her wedding photos. Look. Look. So you telling me that the angle is why her hand almost completely covers his. That is not him. There's no way that could be him. Look at this. He got great big hands. I don't know who this is, but it will explain. Where's the thing? It will sure enough explain a lot. Because Baron was also talking about the suit, and probably because that's on the person whose body that is. It's not him.
I love you.
So I think I'm getting ready to sound all the way crazy because I don't watch this guy because his show messed up my ADD too much. It's all kind of bells and whistles all the time. Just do the information for me. But I am getting older, I think. So I don't need all that excitement. Just give us the information. And Jesse on Fire, that's his name. He got his theory is that Charlie yet lives. And I'm about 70-30 on it. Candace thinks he's gone. That gives a lot of weight to that for me. Because I see her as honest as possible. I really respect people who own their stuff when they make a mistake. I was fooling with Candace before this. I was always in the politics space over here. I couldn't stand her. But as I grew and realized that it wasn't blue versus red, right versus left, and how the system is really set up, I stopped like having a visceral reaction to people on the right. I used to be on the left. Now I'm just me. But those aren't his hands. And I do believe I saw the brown stippling part he mentioned, but that proves nothing. That could not be his hand. And everything is all lies. So let's move along. I don't want to make this too long. Another reason I think it is because, let me show you my, right here, look.
Hey, I hope we got a few more minutes. I got to say this about that day, 9/10, because it's important for everybody watching who loved Charlie and TPUSA. We got to the hospital somewhere around 12:30. He was shot right, like maybe 12:20. It took us like 10 minutes to get there, maybe 15.
10 minutes to get there, maybe 15, right? Now, they say they were going 80, 90, even 100 miles per hour to get to this hospital, which is 2.4 miles from the UVU campus. He got in that car, according to Brian Harpoon, within 16 seconds of falling. And we all saw how he was carried in. Thanks to Candace, we know what happened to the shirt. I don't know why Brian forgot to mention that, but it should have taken 7 minutes to get to that hospital, right? So why would you be in a car for 10 to 15 minutes? Guess what take about 10 to 15? Oh, excuse me. Why would it take you be in a car for 10 to 15 minutes on a trip that is ordinarily 7 minutes? But you going at least double the speed limit at 80. Then you said you went 90 and 100 too. So you should have been at that hospital inside of 4 minutes. And every time they recall this hospital story, they add new facts, like Shapiro. Who was reporting to Shapiro? Is that why they were wearing those meta glasses? Who were those glasses transmitting back to? But I ain't never say nothing because I was feeling crazy, because I'm like, somebody would have mentioned this by now. But you know, another thing nobody mentions, the roof. The man running across that roof, his shadow disappears at the part of the roof where he gets to the white part. Shadow just disappears. And I be feeling crazy because I'm the only one who sees it. And then there's a man, when he jumps off the roof, There's a man walking down the sidewalk in the background by some trees. He just vanishes. I think that whole roof thing is AI. Something ain't right about it. So we just heard my man say they were in the car 10, 15 minutes. That should have been a 7-minute trip driving at normal speeds, but they were going at least double. So being generous, they should have been there in 4 minutes. This is to get to the Provo airport from that campus. 13 minutes. Now traveling at 80, 90, 100 miles an hour, you can get there in 10 minutes, I'm sure. This is another part where Barron comes in, because I wasn't watching him yet when he was doing the research on all those planes. And I don't know how to look that stuff up. I really wanted to find his episodes where he was doing it, so I could just teach myself by watching him how to do it. Because I got the tail number for that plane somewhere. But I had a lot of questions that made sense, and I'm sure he answered them in there, but I'll just say them right here anyway at some point. But that's another reason I think he wasn't taken to the hospital. Kirk says they were in the car for 10 to 15 minutes. The hospital is only 7 minutes away. Traveling at those speeds, it should have been 4 minutes or less. But I could see him getting there in 10 minutes to that hospital. Remember, there was a plane that left right after the bang, and I had a lot of questions about it. I got the tail number or plane number. I don't know what it's called, but I can't find where Barron was covering that type of stuff. I wish he'd do playlists if he somehow sees this. But I'm not just saying it. I've been looking into this for a long time, just like I've been looking into the kids that don't exist. If you ask me, I'll put money on it. And Candace, of course, that's her friend. I don't expect her to say stuff like this, but I bet you she never saw those kids in person. I would bet that he saw hers in person. She never met his. I just got a feeling that she never met those kids, because they don't exist. Everybody always saying Erica never at home with her kids, but go the next step. Why? She be out way too much to have 2 little toddlers. Ain't no way. I done raised a couple kids. I was a foster parent. I was in the foster care system, so I got my foster parenting license. Plus my nephews and stuff when they were little. You ain't about to be away from no toddler that long, period. And I know you ain't about to have them traveling all over like that every day. She don't have kids. That's why you can't find a picture of her visibly pregnant. You can find a picture of her where she might be a little plump, like we all go through phases like that, but none of her stomach. And it's really odd. She'll be at places where you should see a baby bump, like she was at a TPUSA event in Tampa, July 22. Supposedly the baby was born the next month. Then that means she should have been very pregnant. You don't see her very pregnant. Nothing makes sense. And I'm not one of them people who act like Charlie was some type of hero. I didn't know that he was starting to move his position and change and have his growth cycle like we all did, because I didn't like him. I watched him lie a lot for Israel, our greatest ally, and he'll do it in a smug way. I could not stand him. I don't think he got what he deserved. He didn't deserve what he got. I didn't know he was changing. I'm glad to hear that, but I'm not about to be walking around acting like he was some type of hero. He said that he was so relieved when Trump won, because had he not, he'd be looking at some serious time in prison, because he running a money laundering organization, at least. or who knows what he was flying around on them planes. But he wasn't no hero. Heroes don't surround themselves with these type of people. He hired Blake Neff after he knew who Blake Neff was. Is that heroic? Or is that just okay because it's Charlie? Or he's doing a favor for Tucker? Before Blake Neff, there was this girl named Crystal Clanton, fired for racist remarks. I just came across that plane number. It's N88KG. Yeah, so let's stop with the Charlie is infallible. He showed and deserved what he got, but he might be alive. I'm like 70-30 on that. I'm 70-30 on it because we have not seen his body. They won't say where it's buried, and we have no proof. I think he was put on that plane. He was put in the car and flown. Put in the SUV and taken straight to the Provo airport. And that plane, the number I just listed, what was that? N8. What did I just do with that? N888KG. I had some questions. I left it in Baron's chat. I made a nice detailed comment and left it hoping somebody would answer some of the questions or give me some tips on how to find the information myself. I really want to find Baron's videos, and then that will teach me how to look this stuff up. But hold on, let me find it because I had. Okay, because I made a nice comment with some obvious questions to me. I think they are lying about the hospital story, but I made this comment at the end. I put a lot of questions that I would like to. Here it is. So of course I can't write all this in a super chat, but on the comments on one of his videos, I said I think they are lying about the hospital part, just like they lie about major parts of Charlie's life, and they lie about how he passed, and they lie about the people who had his life stolen. We know a patsy when we see one. They have run this exact same place several times. By the time that they got JFK, the lone crazed gunman explanation had already been used for over 50 years. Look into it. The first time I know that they used it was on Andrew Jackson, and that was the 1820s, I believe. The same people who had our greatest ally created, these are the people who were doing it. JFK was not the first president they took out. And Trump wasn't their last attempt. Or he won't be. So, okay, he is never. Okay. I think he was never taken to the hospital. That's another part of the lie. If he had been taken to the hospital, some of the hospital staff would most certainly have leaked some information by now or given blind items, etc. Even if it was a janitor. That would have been a little come up. Sell this information, especially if you could do it anonymously. There would be pictures, videos from the staff, from the other patients there. There would have been other people coming into that emergency room and the people accompanying those people. Many variables, and that's why he probably wasn't taken there, because that's too many things for them to control. They need control of that all the way. There's no way he was taken to the hospital and we haven't heard a peep. Someone would have said something by now. There's no way a commotion that big could have been missed. He was probably taken to the airport and put on that plane that left Provo within 30 minutes of the Big Bang. That is the plane that turned its transponder off on its way to Arizona. Then it came right back to the exact same airport where it had just departed. Why would a plane leave right after the incident, go to Arizona, and then come right back there? I just don't think that makes sense. And why leave at that moment only to come right back? Did they have that pre-scheduled or something? So, like, why did that plane leave? If it was for the event, that ended early. So why would it be leaving right then? I just don't understand that, and I need help. If y'all know how to research or help me, tell me where to look. I don't know how to look up these planes like Baron does, but I'm gonna learn. I can just keep going through his videos till I find them. Okay, so it came right back. If Frank Turek, Brian Harpo, and the other men who were given those strange hand signals before the microphone pack went bang, if they had plans on letting him get in real help, they'd have allowed those EMTs who were there and trying to offer help. Instead, they blocked the EMTs. They pushed them aside, and I think it's because they would have saved his life or seen what the damage actually was, and they couldn't have that. And they'd have seen his neck too, and they know what bullet holes look like. So, boom, they would have been caught right there, or red flags would have gone up. He'd been taken to the hospital. All sorts of people would have immediately known that there was no bullet wound. If the surveillance tapes were actually seized by the FBI, then it was probably taken because the footage would have shown that he was never there. And it would have shown that Frank's story about changing clothes and Andrew and Erica's story about arriving at the same time but going through different entrances are all just more lies. Just like Barron just said, everything is a lie. I remember Candace showed an entry from that hospital's computer system, entry of Charlie Kirk, but I never saw her follow up on that, and I don't think it'd be hard for somebody to put a fake entry in there to make us think he was there. The people who are powerful enough to do this could certainly get a fake entry made. So, and they turned what should have been a 7-minute trip to the hospital on a normal day into 10 to 15 minutes of driving. But guess what's 10 to 15 minutes away? Provo Airport. And why did that plane leave right then? Even if it was pre-scheduled. I don't know, do planes have to pre-schedule every flight, or can they just take off sometime? If it was pre-scheduled, why would they have scheduled it for right at that moment? He should have still been on stage at that time. And then to go to Arizona, of all places, and come right back there? I just think other patients would have said something at that hospital. There's no evidence he was ever taken to that hospital. And now that I know Dr. Trotter and the ME were searched, we know who they are. And Frank's stories, his ever-changing stories, that's what's helping. His wardrobe change. I looked on Grok and ChatGPT. I can't find any images of Erica Kirk pregnant or Frank Turek in scrubs. So, just a lot of BS, but it's just so many questions. Every time I look around, I got a new thing that suggests to me he wasn't taken to the hospital. But how do you get past it taking 15 minutes? You going at 80, 90, 100 miles an hour? No. And then you got this mysterious plane taking off, and only to come right back. So what I was asking in that comment is if there's a way to tell if that plane has scheduled that flight. The plane with the tail number N88, what was it? N88KG. wait, excuse me, N888 KG. Can you see if that flight was scheduled? And if it was, when? Why it was scheduled at that time? Because it shouldn't have been leaving if it was there for him, because he should have been alive on the stage doing his thing. So I don't think it would have planned on leaving at that time. Who was in that plane when it left? Who was in it when it came back from Arizona? Where did it go after it left that airport again? Is this what this plane normally does? Does it have a history of doing this? If that flight was planned, who made the flight plan? Can we see that? Is there a way to look that up? Why did it turn the transponder off? Does that plane normally turn its transponder off after takeoff? Does it usually take seemingly random sudden flights only to turn around and go right back to where it was? How many other planes flying that day turned their transponders off? Is turning the transponders off after takeoff normal or routine for this plane or any other plane? I'm sure somebody already looked into these questions. I need help trying to find the answers to them. I want to find those videos of Barron covering this. Okay, she had something to say right here. There's even more changes to the hospital ride story.
And the courts is a great way to do that. Violations. You violated a non-disparagement. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you into bankruptcy. You can't win without stealing. Well, Ben Shapiro made this admission, which was shocking, about what took place in that very short car ride, approximate 7-minute car ride to the hospital after Charlie got hit. Ben Shapiro was receiving live updates from somebody in that vehicle. Take a listen.
It wasn't 7 minutes. It should have been 7 minutes.
I remember where I was when all this was happening. I was in Los Angeles. I had sort of a breakfast/lunch meeting with somebody. And I got the news that Charlie had been shot, and my security was on the phone with Charlie's security because nobody knew what the hell was going on. Well, Charlie was still in the back of the car, and we were sort of getting updates along the way. There's visual timelines that show Charlie's body being carried to a vehicle within minutes of being shot. Apparently, he was still alive at the time. Again, I know that only because my security was talking to his security in the car.
Somebody make that make sense. Go ahead. You're going to have to become a conspiracy theorist to make that make sense. This is the enemy of Charlie Kirk is telling you that he was receiving live updates during 7 minutes, critical minutes, while Charlie was bleeding in the back seat, while Brian Harpole, let's go back and actually show our diagram. Brian Harpole stipulates that it couldn't have been him that was providing those updates because he was just packing like 40 feet of gauze into Charlie's neck, and it couldn't have been recovered.
Wait, don't forget. Not only was he packing 40 feet of gauze in, he was also taking it out and repacking while giving CPR. So he was busy. And then remember, before they even got him in the car, he had dial eyes, I believe that's what he called it. So they get him in the car, but oops, can't close the door because Charlie's leg's too long. See these bucket seats? I worked like I was a buyer for adult toys and novelties for my real career. I'm in that industry. But lately I've been working in industry adjacent to the medical industry. So we all have to have CPR classes regularly. There's nowhere in the world. They didn't think this through at all. You can never, there's no way he could have had CPR on these bucket seats. And he's long, but not so long where you couldn't get his legs up in that car. And you going 80, 90, 100 miles an hour. You can never give CPR like this. So, I just don't, it's like, these stories are crazy. They put 20 on 10. Maybe that's why it caught my ear, because that didn't make sense when they said it was giving him CPR. And then when I started looking up stuff to make this video, that's when I saw Harpool in an interview say he had glass eyes or dial eyes right there on that platform where they was giving the hand signals before he fell. So why would you be giving him CPR anyway if you know he's already gone? And Frank Turk said something similar once he was in a car, though. That's what he said he observed. But I don't know how, because you got Brian Harpool hanging down here with Charlie's legs, because they can't close the door. So he got his tail end hanging out the door, Charlie's legs in the way, but still he managed to get up to his face, do CPR, pack in gauze, which it shouldn't have been bleeding anymore. If his eyes had glazed over, you don't bleed when you don't have a pulse. So, he was doing that. Oh, somebody had to pray at that same time. And while Harpo is giving CPR, he had the chance to look in his eyes, and he was going to be with Jesus. They play with the Lord so much. And Charlie did too. I believe he was running a money laundering organization for Talmudic Jews in the name of the Lord. His conscience started bothering him, or whatever he was thinking he was going to prison for the rest of his life for probably helped. And I don't think he just changed on his own. All of his audience was starting to turn on him because he was telling obvious lies for our greatest ally, and they ain't buying it no more. So he had to change. I'm glad he did, but he never deserved this, and I think they are insulting us. Watch tomorrow, it's gonna be something new to come out that's even more fanciful. They saying they prayed while giving him CPR in a bucket seat while his legs hanging out the car along with Brian's hind end. Oh, but don't forget this man right here. Or was it Rick? Who got the tattoo? Brian said some man had a tattoo. So since he had a special tattoo, I guess he's talking about his military days or something. That's his brother. He know he got him. So he not even worried. He just all about Charlie. Meanwhile, they're praying and giving CPR and packing gauze. These are the reasons I don't think that he was ever taken to a hospital. I look, Utah has some type of thing where autopsies are not public information. So that's probably why they did it there. I don't think he had an autopsy anyway. And I don't think that was him in that casket. And I especially just learned from Barron on that show I started with that she did that in Utah. That's before the body was taken home the next day, according to them. But I know that body was already there. I don't know where it is. And that's why I'm 70-30 on him still being alive. Because we'll never see that autopsy report. Trotter and the medical examiner, I'm going to still look, but he just gave me it. He said that he had looked them up and they were searched from our greatest allies territory before the Big Bang. So, come on. Ain't no way. This hospital trip never happened. If it was some surveillance tapes taken, it was to make sure we couldn't see what wasn't on it. There's plenty of people in hospitals. Somebody would have said something. I would have, to the highest bidder. That's a quick little lick. Why not? So no, that didn't happen. It's all kinds of questions. It just makes more sense that he was flown to Arizona immediately after, coming out of their own mouths. They took a 7-minute trip and turned it into 10 to 15 while going way over the speed limit. No, that would work here. 10 to 15 minutes to get to the Provo airport. Not around the corner. 2 miles, that's around the corner to me. Let me see what else Candace had to say. Then I'll close this. I don't want to get real long. We did him. I got a whole new... Dang, I just clicked out of something. I got a whole new respect for people who make videos. This is not easy. I feel bad all the complaining I did to them over the years. I wonder... Did I just click off Candace's tab I had ready? No, here it is. Okay. Let's watch some more of this.
Cutler, because Rick Cutler had him, he had the tattoo. He was holding his brother. He saw the tattoo with two hands because the door was wide open because Charlie's so tall he was hanging out, and there's evidence of that because they caught a police tail. Then we have Frank Turek. Now his story, I will say, is a little complicated. We are told he was praying in the back seat, but also Frank says that he started CPR, but Brian Harpel says no such thing took place because CPR would have been the wrong thing to do while he was bleeding. Gets a little... Frank Turek is an option, for sure. Yeah, Frank Turek is an option of someone who could have been statusing Ben Shapiro's security during this time. We've got Dan Flood and Justin Davis. Justin Davis was driving upwards to 100 miles per hour. I'm going to say he didn't phone Ben Shapiro's or answer the phone call of Ben Shapiro's security to update him because he was focused on the road. That would make the most sense if the story that Brian Harpole told was true.
Maybe they were getting updates from the meta glasses that Harpole and weren't two of them wearing it? Maybe that's how they got the updates.
That leaves us with Dan Flood. Either Dan Flood or Frank Turek were providing updates. But it couldn't have been Frank Turek. I'm sorry, I've lost my mind. Frank Turek left his kids on FaceTime. I'm so sorry. We're playing Guess Who right now. Frank Turek's down. He's down. Remember, his phone, he just didn't even realize while he was praying out loud, his kids were just left on the phone on FaceTime because that's what he was doing. So it can't be Frank. You're down. Bye-bye, Brian. Bye-bye, Rick Cutler. Justin and Dan. In this dark game of Guess Who? Which one of you guys called 911? Because they've never said who called 911 because the 911 calls that were released show that neither of them called 911. Is there a missing 911?
But they said that they called 911. Another lie. I'm going to sit down and write up all the lies that they said. These men right here. Harpole, he's a terrible liar. And fake. That little fake cry thing he just did. Frank Turek, I think these people might be just as crazy as... Could they? I'm convinced Erica is under MK Ultra, Project Monarch. I don't know what happened to Candace's expose on Erica. Is it me or did she just stop? It was like we had 2 more episodes and it was just over. She didn't finish it out. Did she or did I miss it? I could be wrong. Could these people be under mind control as well, like Erica is? And like she thinks Erica is like some type of mental illness person. She probably under MK Ultra. They might have got her stuff dialed up too high. But you can't tell me that Charlie didn't know. He cannot be a genius on one hand and then so obtuse that he was literally in the bed with Erica Kirk for 7 years and never knew who she really was. He hired Blake Neff after he found out who Blake Neff was. Andrew Covid. Andrew Covid could never be in my circle. Charlie pushed away people like Candace, who will hold his feet to the fire, and went with the money. And that's the real story, and that's the story people should be told because it could save some lives. You look at Gary at Paramount Impractical or whatever. He's trying to be a new good boy. Well, they'll do the same thing to you. Charlie gave them his whole life. He started asking questions, pushing back, and then they stole his life. If he is in fact gone. So that's what I want to say. I hope I ain't missed too many points, But I know you can't give CPR in bucket seats while somebody's legs hanging out the window. And why would you if y'all all agree that he was already gone? Could he have been taken out in that truck? That shirt wasn't burnt when they put him in the car. So why do it look like that now? Y'all remember the shirt she showed the other day? It had no burns on it. So what was going on in that truck? Maybe we should ask Ben Shapiro. Ask him to let us see his copy of the Meta videotape from those Meta glasses. But let them keep talking, because a lie don't care who tell it. It just want to be told, and they gonna tell it, and that's what keep tripping them up. So I just wanted to get this together right quick. I hope I'm getting better. I want it to be more streamlined, but I'm gonna try to get this to Baron. Tell him why I'm thinking, and that's the man. So he probably can add a lot to it. If you can think of something, add it in the comments, please. If I'm wrong about any of my thoughts, put me right. All right, peace.